All right. We are back. This is the It's Your Perspective Talk Show, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 8 p.m. until. Tonight we have a special guest in the studio, Shelley Moorhead. There he is right there. I think he's getting himself prepared here. There he is right there. Shelley, thanks for coming out to the studio, man. And spend a little bit of time with us to get us caught up, I guess, on a few things. This is my first time meeting you. And I just want to say thank you for coming out to the high-tech, low-tech studio. What we got to also say to you, Shelley, is that we're broadcasting from an undisclosed location in the beautiful island of St. Croix Virgin Islands. No radio, no TV, internet only. That's the only way you can see this show is to get on the internet. So thanks for coming out and blessing us with a little bit of your time tonight,
Certainly the pleasure is mine. Happy to have met you and to be here in the high-tech studio.
High-tech, low-tech studio.
Yeah, it's all high-tech for me.
Yes.
Yeah,
we're going right on the internet right now. We're worldwide right now, so that's how it goes. Worldwide, everywhere and anywhere they'll be seeing this show. Just get online via your smartphone, your iPad, your computer, Windows, Mac, just whatever you got. Just go to the website, streaming live from the vi.com, and click on the Watch Us Live tab, and guess what? They will see us live, and along with Shelley Moorhead tonight. So, Shelley, thanks for coming out, and I know that you're involved in this African Caribbean Reparation Resettlement Alliance, and kind of been hearing a little bit about this since I come back in 2008, but like I said, this is my first time meeting you, so, where did this all come about? I mean, just kind of start us with your whole kind of thought process of how this thing came about. I guess you developed an organization that is seeking that, I guess, is a safe way to put that.
Well, first and foremost, let me thank you for the invitation. I'm pleased to be here. You and Brother Soup.
Yes, sir.
And I would be remiss if I did not first and foremost give all honor, praise, thanks, and glory to that spirit which creates and guides and inspires us all.
Yes, sir.
So, having said that, and in listening to the music that is in the background, produced by our very own St. Croix homegrown Midnight.
For sure, man.
It is the message that is in the music. It is the pulse of the people. It is the seriousness of the times, and it's reflected all around us. The music is just certainly one medium, but reparations is an idea whose time has come.
Yes.
And mightier than the march of any modern military machine is the power and the virility of an idea. How do you defend against an idea whose time it is?
Yes.
And reparations in the African diaspora is the idea whose time has come. We see all throughout the Caribbean our governments here in the region taking the issue of reparations very, very seriously. And so this began personally for me back in the year 2004. I was returning home from having spent many years abroad, traveling and working and studying on the African continent, in the United States, in Europe, etc. But in listening again to some of the music that was coming out of St. Croix, and to hear the issues that were prevalent and still are, those that were important to our people, and listening to Midnight, there was something that had to be done to address the social ills, the political ineptitude that has stemmed from 250 years of colonization, the poor health and poor economy that results from 175 years of concurrent slavery, etc., etc. And so reparations, for me, then was an idea that became manifest in the African Caribbean Reparations and Resettlement Alliance, which was formed in the year 2004. But I want to pause for a minute, and because I'm listening to this music in the background, and I want to let you know, and those that are viewing and listening, that our very own St. Croix based and homegrown and raised Midnight Band just today was awarded the #1 position on iTunes. So let's get that correct. Midnight for the album Beauty for Ashes.
Yes, yes.
Midnight and the collaboration with iGrade Records.
Yes,
The album Beauty for Ashes is the #1 reggae album of the year for 2014
What?
on iTunes.
Big up to Midnight.
So certainly we want to give that shout out and send that respect to Vaughn Benjamin,
Yes,
and
yes,
the
yes.
Midnight Crew, and certainly to iGrade Records and Tippy
Tippy, for
and
sure.
his team as well. And we're certainly very proud of them, you know.
Yes, for
and,
sure.
This is at Virgin
Great work.
Islands Pride.
Great work.
Yeah.
And
Yes,
it is this music that communicates our message coming out of the Virgin Islands. And to draw that perhaps as a reference point, it is this sound and this spirit, this message that is coming out of the Virgin Islands that is being spread around the globe, you know, and it's being done so with great power and strength and authority. If you remember, it was in the year 2004 that Accra was launched in the U.S. Virgin Islands.
Yes.
It was in the year 2005 that the first ever reparations delegation from any Caribbean island or nation or etc. territory had traveled to Europe to have reparations, official reparations discussions.
Right.
So by the year 2005, in the month of April, we had come back from Denmark with an official government delegation and with a signed memorandum of understanding with an agreement with the Danes to work towards reparations. And this is April 2005.
Right.
And then in May 2005, we find our legislature here in the Virgin Islands taking action and passing a referendum on reparations. And so almost an entire decade before Antigua, Jamaica, St. Vincent, Guadeloupe, Martinique, etc., etc.
Right.
So the Virgin Islands for many years has led the call, has led the challenge, has led the region and the diaspora on the matter of reparations for slavery and reparatory justice for colonization. And that sound, that message, that movement, having root here, has certainly permeated the entire Caribbean and the diaspora at large. And we see now reparations initiatives, reparations committees taking official form all throughout our diaspora. And so, yes, in 2004 we formed ACRA. 2005 we were in Denmark with an official government delegation. And from there, the rest pretty much is history. We have advocated on behalf of the people of Virgin Islands for reparations in Denmark. We have represented our people at the United Nations, at the African Union in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, in Denmark, and all throughout Europe,
Right.
the United States, bringing this issue to the forefront, mainstream media, and the forefront of political discussion as it relates to Africans in the diaspora, but particularly here in the Virgin Islands. We've been unfortunate as a people to not have had a government for the last 8 years that would take any interest or find any value in the reparations discussion. And it's been unfortunate because the Virgin Islands has made so much progress in the area of reparations and reparative justice.
Right.
And so to have a government that we could not find, that could not find a parallel, or could not meet us halfway at least, it's been unfortunate. And so we're hoping now, with the presence of a new government and some intelligence in Government House, that perhaps we may be able to make some progress again.
Okay.
With Denmark as it relates to the matter of reparations.
You mentioned the Senate passed an amendment. What specifically was I don't know. I guess the language of that. I mean,
that was a resolution passed on May 4th, 2005, to condemn the institution of slavery and to seek reparations from Denmark.
Okay, and so nothing's been done since then.
Nothing has been done.
Okay.
We had a delegation sent to St. Vincent for CARICOM's first reparations conference that would have been in September of 2013, and that has been the only movement by our government or by the legislature since having passed that referendum on May 4th, 2005.
Okay.
So Shelley, none of the senators want to engage. Nobody, the governor, no congresswoman, nobody wanted to have a conversation to go forward with this.
Well, here and there, certainly there have been senators that have taken interest in the reparations movement and have certainly helped further the cause, namely Senator Terrence Positive Nelson. He has traveled with me to Denmark. He was a member of that inaugural delegation that left the Virgin Islands and had discussions in Denmark with the Foreign Ministry and the Danish Institute for Human Rights and several other governmental and non-governmental agencies there. Former Senator Usi Richards was also a member of that delegation.
Okay.
And he, along with former Senator Celestino White, were the authors of that resolution.
Okay.
On May 4, 2005. As far as the legislature is concerned, that has pretty much been the support. Outside of the resolution was passed unanimously on the 4th of May 2005, so all of the senators did vote for it. Since then, though, it has been pretty much there has been no action by the legislature. I know that former Senator Ronald Russell, in the year 2004, put a drafting request in to establish a reparations committee, similar to what we are seeing established all throughout the Caribbean by various different governments. Jamaica has a committee, St. Vincent, and the Grenadines, Trinidad, going down the chain.
Right.
These reparations committees now are being formed by the CARICOM nations. And we had legislation back in 2004. However, there was no movement whatsoever on that legislation. There's also legislation to seek compensation from companies in the Virgin Islands that have ties directly to slavery and the slave trade.
Right.
That was authored, or drafting request was put in by current Senator Sean Michael Malone, but that was done back in the year 2006, I believe, and there has been no movement on that legislation at all. I believe that there has been some discussion by Senator Myron Jackson regarding a reparations, the establishment of a reparations committee. He also accompanied me and Senator Terrence Nelson in 2013 when we attended CARICOM's Reparations Conference in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, September of last year.
Right.
So there is certainly interest in the legislature and in our government. However, it takes a great deal of, I would say, strength, and you have to have a level of audacity, to stand in the face of the powers that be and to launch a reparations campaign. And I don't know if within the legislature we have that type of testicular fortitude, just to be honest. We will see what the new crop brings.
Right.
And hopefully we will find some movement with respect to reparations, because it is certainly a very important issue to us as a people here in the Virgin Islands and all throughout the Caribbean and the African diaspora, wherever we may be found out, as a result of slavery outside of Africa. So we'll see what this new government brings.
How long ago did you visit the UN, and what was their reaction towards you coming with a reparation committee, a reparation agenda towards the UN?
Well, the context of my presentation at the United Nations was within the context of the United Nations Committee on Decolonization.
Right.
And so my presentation there certainly was tapered for that discussion.
Okay.
It gave the history of the Virgin Islands through the prism of slavery and colonization, and it discussed our present political status and reality in that we are but a colony of the United States. And so we put those issues on the record at the United Nations. But beyond that, the committee there has little power, and there are now 17 non-self-governing territories that remain in the world, and the Virgin Islands is one of those. I think we're probably into the third decade now after the United Nations mandate to decolonize.
Mm-hmm.
And so certainly you can see that anything coming out of the United Nations with respect to decolonization has little to no teeth.
Right. And what do you think the attitude is, Shelley?
The United Nations is governed and controlled by the superpowers.
Okay.
And they're not going to do anything that certainly conflicts with or contradicts the interests of those powers, be it the United States or France, China, or whoever.
Right.
Russia.
Okay.
What do you said nothing's being done the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years or so, but what do you hope to see happen when the new governor gets in here and we got a new 31st legislature? I mean,
well, let us not say that nothing has been done by our government.
but okay.
Certainly, Accra has been very active.
Okay.
In and out of Denmark, and traveling throughout the Caribbean, having meetings and discussions with partners and those with like and similar interests in the region.
Okay.
For example, within the last year, I think that Accra was successful in engaging well over 5 million Danes through their media, their mainstream media, whether it was being broadcast on live Danish nightly news or appearing in their newspapers, etc., etc. This is an issue that Denmark is taking very seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And the debate on whether or not Denmark would be apologizing to the Virgin Islands has raged in Denmark since October of 2013. And so ever so often this issue will appear
Right.
in their mainstream media, and their politicians are taking this very seriously as we approach 2017. There have been film crews here in the last several months. Newspapers from Denmark have been here doing stories,
Okay.
etc., etc. And so this issue, although we may not find it present and represented in our local political discussion at this time,
Right.
rest assured that it is very present in the Danish political discussion and in Danish media, almost monthly.
Oh, really? Okay. That's good.
Definitely monthly, but almost weekly.
Okay. Okay.
So this issue is something that is brings great concern as they approach the centennial, which is in 2017. The people of Denmark want to know, will our government be apologizing to the Virgin Islands or not for slavery and colonization?
Yeah.
And if so, will there be compensation? What kind of repair? They want to know if our reparations initiative will reach The Hague. Will we be joining CARICOM?
Okay.
Will we be joining that lawsuit? And these are questions that we get monthly from not only the Danish media, but there are a great number of students on the college level in Denmark, both at the University of Copenhagen and the University of Roskilde, that are finding interest in this part of the Danish history. And so you have to remember that this was 250 years of unbroken Danish history that the majority of Danes know nothing about.
Yeah.
And so there's more modern Danish history that is unknown to Danes here on these shores than there is in Denmark.
Right.
And so this is almost as if a new frontier for many students and many politicians, now leading up to 2017.
In you traveling to Denmark, I've seen I've seen that you have met a certain. Gosh, I want to get the name of the crew, the name of the group in Denmark. I guess it's this certain seat of government. The Unity, I think it's the Unity.
It's a political party.
Right, a political party. And what it was saying is that I guess some people didn't want to apologize because they were saying that it will happen, I guess, 175 years ago. But my whole argument, and I was reading through it, and I didn't really see that yeah, it happened 175 years ago, but you still reaping from those benefits here today. And I'm not hearing nobody's even talk about it to say, well, what took place then put you in a position where you are now.
Certainly, the fact that Danes enjoy free healthcare and education and several other social benefits in society at no cost,
right,
may be seen from the perspective of a Virgin Islander as ill-gotten gains. And these are profits from the slave trade that have been invested and reinvested in the Danish economy that allow Danes to, quote-unquote, today be the happiest people in the world, or for Denmark and Norway and Sweden to go back and forth to be the richest nation in the world,
yes,
and et cetera, et cetera. So, but we would be remiss if we did not focus in on the accomplishment in what you mentioned. Enhed Listen is a major political party in Denmark.
right,
Enhed Listen translates to the Red Green Alliance.
Red Green Alliance, okay.
In the last election, they won a great number of seats, more than they had ever won before, and so they're becoming increasingly popular,
right,
in Danish politics at the present moment.
Okay.
Now, for the head of the Red Green Alliance, or Enhed Listen, who is a member of the Danish Parliament, to come out and to make it the official position of the political party that they were going to demand of the government of Denmark to apologize to the people and government of the Virgin Islands is no small thing.
Right.
Is no small thing.
Okay.
And to find that level of interest 7,000 miles away from a people not your own, from a government not your own, but then to look here at home and to find a non-interest on the part of our own government that is supposed to be representative of us certainly is very disturbing, not only to me but to many people in our community. And so to answer your question, David, regarding the 31st legislature and the coming of the Matt Potter administration, I'm certainly hopeful that in their Department of External Affairs we might find interest in the Virgin Islands reparations movement, and that as we move towards 2017, that those committees that have been established by our government will not be seeking just a celebration or a commemoration around the year 2017 in the month of March, but that we will be pursuing reparative and reparatory justice, and that we will be looking forward to that apology coming out of Denmark, that we will be in the years leading up to 2017 negotiating with the Danes for cooperation and reinvestment in the Virgin Islands economy.
Right.
We just want to take our historical investment, our labor, our blood, sweat, and tears
Yes.
for that 175 to 250 year period. We only want to see that now reinvested in our infrastructure, reinvested in our energy, reinvested in our public works, reinvested in our education, reinvested in our healthcare. And so that is the idea of reparations for us here in the Virgin Islands. And so leading up to 2017, we need a government and a governor and a legislature that will look at reparations and find value in its potential for growth and development of these Virgin Islands.
Shelley, has you been able to go out into the schools or anything like that and talk about reparations to the youth them and tell them what it's all about or anything like that?
Certainly. We have pretty much, we've spoken at all of the high schools in the Virgin Islands.
Okay.
We've probably spoken to just about all the schools in the Virgin Islands throughout the years, in St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John.
Okay.
Public, private, parochial.
Right.
Yeah. And so maybe a few here and there that we have not been able to engage.
Majority of them.
Majority UVI on both islands. Matter of fact, just in September, we at the University of the Virgin Islands had a live public debate on the matter of a Danish apology by the government of Denmark to the people and government of the Virgin Islands.
Oh, okay.
This was a debate that was being hosted by Roskilde University in Denmark. Right? But it was broadcast live via the internet.
Yes.
And hosted at UVI St. Croix and UVI St. Thomas simultaneously.
Okay.
So we had 3 links. We were able to have Nyora in Denmark. At the time, he was there for a concert that he was doing, but he was able to having a great interest in reparations. He was able to go to Roskilde University and to sit in person and participate in the debate.
Oh, really? That's good, man. That's real good.
I represented Accra. We had Dr. Carlisle Corbin, the former Minister of State for External Affairs for Governor Turnbull.
Okay.
And we had Professor Gerard Emmanuel from the Virgin Islands side. And there were also Danish scholars and professors representing the Danish side of the discussion. And this was a live public debate that took place at Roskilde University, but was broadcasted via the internet live here to UVI St. Croix and St. Thomas. So we have found great success engaging students not only here in the Virgin Islands, but all throughout the world
Okay.
on this issue, and providing this awareness and this education with respect to reparations.
Okay.
In the year 2005, we toured the Danish educational sector, and we spoke to 10,000 Danish students
Okay.
in the year 2005.
Is education is secondary education free in Denmark?
Yes,
Free.
you can become a medical doctor
At the government's
at the
expense.
government's expense,
Yeah. Whoa.
or at the people of the Virgin Islands
With the
expense.
people at the Virgin Islands expense.
or the people of the
Exactly.
former Danish West Indies.
So now, Shelley, if all these things are taking place within England and within Denmark, and they having such freedom from the back of our ancestors, why do you think the government is not engaged here to go forward with the reparations committee or reparations movement, some kind of dialogue or something like that? What do you think is their big issue stepping forward?
I think that certainly there is a great disconnect someplace, not understanding how our history as an enslaved people and our present status as a colony impacts us presently and is shaping our future.
Right.
And if the senators are near my age or older, certainly, and had matriculated through the Virgin Islands educational system, it is quite possible that they would have done so without having Virgin Islands history, or Caribbean history,
Yes.
or African history, and so I think that there needs to be a great deal of awareness. Well, there's a clean slate now, so as we talk about the new government, the new governor and lieutenant governor, as we talk about the new senators,
Right.
the senators elect, let us give them a chance to look at this issue and to see if they will certainly find interest in all of the potential and promise that it holds for the people of the Virgin Islands. I can only speak to what the history has been with respect to our government and this issue, but moving forward, certainly we are full of hope and optimism.
Right.
All right, but yeah, there has been a disconnect in understanding how we have and are being affected by not pursuing this issue. There are some political challenges. Being a colony, we don't have international officers or agents. We don't have a president at the United Nations. We don't have embassies anywhere,
Yes.
or ambassadors. And so to engage the international community and have to, if we were to do so and follow protocol, then we would have to do so through the State Department of the United States.
Right.
And so that makes pursuing reparations a little bit difficult, or rather difficult, I would say, especially when the United States government
The colonizer.
is
Past colonizer.
complicitous in the crime, and certainly is the colonial master at present.
Present, yes.
It makes it very difficult, and so you have to certainly have a great deal of gall and political aptitude and thinking of intelligence and savvy to be able to negotiate these waters and to bring about a reparations movement that is palatable to the political sector and accepted by the masses. So it takes a great deal of patience and certainly a great deal of what's the word I'm looking for? Persistence.
Right.
You got to stick with it. 2004, ACWA was established, and we're soon to be entering 2015. And so there's been a lot of progress that has been made within the last 10 years. But it has been it has been certainly, it has come with being persistent, being diligent, and staying with it. The reparations movement and the fruit that it will bear for the people of the Virgin Islands, it is a seed that will not bear fruit in 2 years or 3 years. It is a tree that we will not be able to eat from after 10 years.
Yes.
This will take 20 years or 30 years to manifest full reparations for the people of the Virgin Islands. But it is something that we as a government have to certainly invest in, not only our resources, but we have to give our time, and committees have to be established, We have to engage our community. We have to educate our community on these issues. And this is a job and the responsibility of government. And so, but it is a task that Accra has picked up in the absence of government.
Of government, yeah.
But all throughout the Caribbean, we see this hat being worn by Office of the Prime Minister, Office of the President,
right,
or Government House here, or et cetera, et cetera.
Yes, yes.
Or by this Parliament, or that Parliament.
Yes.
Parliament of Jamaica taking action and establishing a committee for this and that and the other. So, again, we're hoping that our government, moving forward into the year 2015, will pick up the slack, and that we can have, we can lay out perhaps a government strategy for pursuing reparations on behalf of the people of the Virgin Islands.
Shelley, let me ask you this: have you known that any Africans have been given reparations any part of the world in your studies, in your training, in your endeavors?
Only
I was going to ask a very similar question to that. Yeah, that's a good question there.
Only one. In the year 1947, under the leadership of His Royal Highness, His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie I,
yes, I.
Ethiopia received reparations from Italy in the year 1947. The only African people to have ever received reparations, not compensation, because the Mau Mau just got compensation in Kenya,
right?
Won by Leyde, the same law firm that is now representing CARICOM for reparations. The descendants of those Mau Mau fighters in Kenya received compensation from the British government for what happened there in the early 20s, in the mid to early 20th century.
Right.
But as far as people and a nation receiving reparations, Ethiopia received reparations from Italy under the leadership of Haile Selassie I for the war crimes of Benito Mussolini.
Yes.
But as far as reparations for slavery and the African Holocaust, the transatlantic slave trade, there is no people as of yet to have received or to have wrestled or won reparations from a former or major European colonial power.
Is any country in the Caribbean a little further along? Because you said here for the last 8 years, no one's really in the government.
Politically, we find CARICOM organizing around reparations.
Okay.
But as far as further along, I'm not sure if we can use that terminology because we find them organizing around the issue in 2013.
Okay.
In 2005, we were in Denmark with official reparations delegation from the Virgin Islands. In 2005, we had a signed memorandum of understanding with the Danes. In 2005, our government, our legislature, became the first governmental body in the region and the first of ex-slave population to organize around the issue of reparations and actually make it the official position of the government body to seek reparations from European colonial power. And so I would say that CARICOM still has a great distance to go before they catch up with the Virgin Islands, certainly as far as it concerns the strides that we have made as far as awareness is concerned, and as far as engaging the European government.
Okay.
These are discussions that we have had at the foreign ministry level in Denmark.
Okay.
Although the Virgin Islands government has withdrawn itself from the table, causing negotiations
To fail, right, right.
We have been successful, certainly, in penetrating the Danish society. We've got a major political party in Denmark
That's
saying
willing
to the
to
Prime
Prime
Minister's
Minister
office, hey, you need to apologize to the people of the Virgin Islands. And you don't find that happening anywhere else in Europe right now.
Okay.
I'm certainly sure that we will see these types of concessions coming out of Europe now that CARICOM is organized. And now that CARICOM certainly is represented by a law firm and is taking that lawsuit very seriously.
Right.
I'm certainly that there will be concessions being made all throughout the former the British Empire.
Okay.
But as far as the accomplishments and the strides that have been made with respect to reparations, the Virgin Islands is certainly far out and in front. Our government lags behind.
Okay.
So, Shelley, how many members do you have for ACWA? Is it an organization?
We used to be a membership organization.
Okay.
We are no longer, certainly because of the challenges that have come with our funding being withheld by the government of the Virgin Islands. And so we are people that are seeking reparations. We are people that, for the most part, 34.5% live in poverty. You understand? Although we are part of the quote-unquote first world, where we are United States territory, our poverty exceeds that of third world nations.
Yes.
Poverty in Ghana is at 32.5%. We are 34.5%. So if we put that into perspective, asking people for membership fees and seeking to hold that as the standard for whether or not you can participate in the reparations movement, we had to remove that from the equation.
Okay.
In 2008 and 2009, when in those years, running one after the other, the Young Francis administration withheld our lawfully appropriated allotment.
That was allotted to the...
withheld our allotment that was appropriated by the
legislature,
by the 28th and the 29th legislature respectively. And so that certainly brought with it great challenge for the organization. We were no longer able, we had to change the way that we engage our community with respect to information and awareness. So it brought with it a great number of challenges. And so as far as being a membership organization, we had to do away with that now. We certainly have a great following on social media, and we have certainly stuck there as far as being able to reach out to our network.
Okay. Yeah. Well, so what the ACWA has in vision now for the future for ACWA? Is there anything lined up on the table? Are you having any conference, any conventions, anything happening?
Well, we just did the one in September with Rascal University, but it was very major. Although, again, sometimes the lack of funding. Remember, reparations is a thing that governments
shy away from.
No, our government has shied away from.
Okay.
But it is something that concerns and involves government and needs and begs government participation. And so for our government, contrarily to withdraw the funding from a non-governmental organization, and the only entity in the territory that was pursuing reparations on behalf of the people, presented great challenge for us. And so, like I said, the membership part of our organization had to be done away with.
Okay. Let me ask you, Shelley. You mentioned earlier about I guess in the Danish paper they have maybe a couple articles or an article about the Virgin Islands. I mean, so you have reporters here, and what kind of things are they writing? I mean, in these articles, because I guess they don't put them in the local papers here.
Well, Danish reporters are going to write in Danish.
Okay, okay, so
all of those, there's only, I think, one English language Danish newspaper online, and that is the Copenhagen Post. But everything else is in Danish, and so if you don't read, write, speak, or understand Danish, then you'll be clueless.
Okay.
But you've got to know some key words that you can search for, and it's more than just a little or a few. I will say with authority that there are more articles in the Danish media with respect to reparations and the Virgin Islands than there are in local Virgin Islands media.
Oh, really? Okay, that's interesting. Interesting fact there.
I got a stack of newspapers at home about this hack.
Okay, but I mean, what are they saying? I mean,
right now they're very concerned with the matter of apology.
Okay.
Leading up to 2017, will Denmark apologize for slavery?
Okay. So
will they compensate Virgin Islands for slavery, slave trade, the loss, the pain, the suffering, etc.?
Okay.
That is right now the dominant issue.
Okay.
As it relates to the Virgin Islands.
Okay. Okay.
And once they apologize, that door opens for them to make that compensation.
If they apologize.
If they apologize. Okay. Okay.
What is the tone, I guess, of the young people in Denmark? I mean, are they for it, against it, or are they just neutral, or I mean?
Well, for the most part, I think that when they encounter this issue in school or in the community, it's new for them. For a great number of years, this history has been swept under the rug in Denmark and romanticized, and so they hear about a few crown colonies in the Caribbean, and they think about pirates in the Caribbean.
Right, right.
It's romanticized.
Yes.
But when they get to understand that in fact their government and their crown were involved in some of the most brutal and heinous crimes against humanity to have taken place during the slavery era, it is something that to some of them is very shocking. And they begin to ask a number of questions. But why now are we only now being told about this?
Right.
And why are these people from the Virgin Islands coming and telling us about this? Why isn't it our own people?
Right.
Okay.
But in the last few years, though, I can say the last decade, since we've been active, we have seen an increasing amount of information and history regarding the former Danish West Indies appear in the Danish curriculum and in textbooks. All right, in the secondary and primary school levels there in Denmark.
Okay.
So do they have a class like on VI history, or is it just part? Okay, so
Certainly.
Okay.
This is Danish history.
Okay.
Exactly.
It's
So
not
let me
VI history to them. This is
Danish history. Okay, I got you. I understand.
What's the African population in Denmark? I mean, if you could.
I don't know. I would have to look at some statistics.
Okay.
But there is an African community in Denmark.
Okay.
Pretty much from the countries that are involved with the African countries that are involved with DANIDA, and DANIDA is the Danish Agency for Development, and so you have the Foreign Ministry of Denmark participating in development programs in 13 countries on the African continent, in sub-Saharan Africa. They have a bilateral agreement, for example, with the Republic of Ghana, and I think they contribute somewhere near $250 million US annually to Ghana's economy in a number of development projects and foreign aid assistance, etc., etc. I am one to lean to the belief that the only reason that Denmark is involved in Ghana today is because Ghana was a former colony of Denmark, just like the Virgin Islands were, or the former Danish West Indies, now the U.S. Virgin Islands, were also a colony of Denmark. And so they participate in the development of Ghana to this day. Because of our political status and being the U.S. Virgin Islands today being a part of the quote-unquote developed world, there are political protocols in place and that do not allow for Denmark to issue development aid and assistance or to carry out development programs in the U.S. Virgin Islands.
Wow.
Because we are a part of the United
US.
States and the developed world. Although we are at 34.5% poverty, although we have poor infrastructure, poor energy, very poor health, and all of these things find their root in the fact that we were colonized by Denmark for 250 years. And so this is where having a government that is active and involved in the reparations movement here in the Virgin Islands, this is where we have doors opening up and in negotiating the relaxation or the amendment of some of these protocols, etc., etc. And these are just discussions and meetings that have to be had so that we can begin now to see the repair. But it takes first an active and interested and aware and intelligent government to pursue reparations on behalf of its people. And you can't be scared, because if you're scared, you're not going to get anywhere.
Definitely.
We have, as a government, have shown a great deal of fear in the face
timidness
of our colonial masters.
Right.
Yeah, our guest tonight is Shelley Moorhead. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back in just a few minutes. Stand by. All right, we are back. Our guest tonight is Shelley Moorhead. He's, there he is right there. African Caribbean Reparation and Resettlement Alliance. Just in closing here, you just wanted to mention just a few more things?
Well, certainly it's been my pleasure to be here and to have this discussion with you. As we approach the year 2017 and the centennial of the U.S. Virgin Islands, a date when we were sold by Denmark and purchased by the United States of America, I think that it's important for us as a community to educate our children on our history, but to be aware ourselves of our political reality, of our economic realities, of our socio-economic realities, and to understand how our history impacts these things today. The fact that we spend upwards or nearly $300 million annually on education, but we don't see that reflected in our communities. And when we look at our kids count statistics and data, when we look at our dropout rates, when we look at how many fail to matriculate, when we look at how many leave the Virgin Islands, students leave the Virgin Islands and never return, and having spent all of those hundreds of millions of dollars to educate our student population, and for them to take that educational wealth now, and to take all that value and to leave the territory with it and to never return. But when we understand that for 250 years it was illegal for us, or excuse me, almost 200 years, certainly 175 years, it was illegal for us to read, write, and to be educated here in the Virgin Islands. And so then when you now just in the 21st century up and say, okay, well now be educated, but to do what? And then we realize that up until 1986, there were no laws on the books to protect the minds of our children and to allow for their education in the area of African history, area of Virgin Islands history, area of Caribbean history, area of economic development, etc., etc. And that today in the year 2014, still there is no curriculum that reflects the law and the code. Well, we understand that all of these things and our lack of interest in education and our rejection of the curriculum that is being fed to our student population has a great deal to do with the fact that we were not permitted to be educated for 2 centuries. And that has a root in Denmark.
Yes.
And so as we approach 2017, if we look at our community and we look at the issues that are affecting us, and we can see those that have their root in our history, I'd like to just remind our people that if we, as perhaps our first recorded expression of self-determination, took the matter of our freedom in our own hands, and in 1848 here in Frederiksted on the island of St. Croix, emancipated ourselves from slavery and abolished the slave trade ourselves.
Yes, I. Yes,
and if that was our first recorded expression of self-determination, then how then generations later in the year 1917 do we find these people who made themselves free being sold from one colonial master to another? And that if we understand that that sale in fact was a human rights violation, and that human rights violations carry no statute of limitation, meaning that
we could
today,
go far back.
That today the sale of the former Danish West and the now U.S. Virgin Islands from Denmark to the United States remains today
illegal,
a human rights violation of the worst sort, in the sense that our inalienable human right to self-determination was violated by circumvention, and because we were not consulted as a people or population.
Yes,
there are no statute of limitation that bar us from seeking justice for the sale of a people.
Yes.
And so these are ideas, like I said, reparations, an idea whose time has come. These are initiatives and concepts that our government and people must find great interest and value in, because the pursuit of them will equal the development of our economy, the development of our infrastructure, the education of our children, and the bettering of our health care. So I would just like to advise, that leading up to the year 2017, that we find the fortitude, that we find the strength and the intelligence to pursue reparations, to organize ourselves as a government and as a people and as a community, to take these issues and to place them now squarely on the table for negotiation with the government of Denmark, who has been ready to meet with us ever since the year 2005.
Yes,
is it someone that you can call over there just to say, hey, I live in St. Croix and we need this? I mean, or how does that...
That would have to come from government.
Okay. There goes the government again, right in the middle of everything.
It's certainly been my pleasure.
All right, Shelley. Shelley Moorhead has been in the studio. We thank you very much for taking a busy time out your schedule to gracing us with your presence and your knowledge. Continue doing what you're doing, my brother, and I wish you the faith. This is one medium that you could use
for sure in the future.
Send that message across. Anytime you're ready again, we call you, you call us, however you want to go, and we take it from there. You know what I mean?
Certainly, the pleasure has been mine.
Yes,
thank you very much.
All right, thank you. All right, Soup Man, this is the It's Your Perspective Talk Show, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 8 p.m. until it's about 9:17 p.m. Soup, any final words, man?
Rastafari lives, one perfect love.
Yeah, and we like to say our prayers and his blessings equal one perfect love. Rastafari stands alone. On that note, we'll be back again tomorrow. Talk to you then. We're out. Peace.
Selassie, oh Jackie, the mount. The highly children, a state of love to show.